You know, 30 years ago, the only mushroom available at the supermarket was the white button variety, John. Can you imagine those days? But that has all changed today, thanks to farms like Forest Mushrooms in St. Joseph. And today we're getting a behind-the-scenes look at this operation. And John, I think you're going to be a little surprised to learn that there's something that we as people have in common with fungi. This isn't your average farm. There are no fields of crops growing in the sun, no plows, no green plants, no sowing seeds. Instead, Kevin Doyle is growing mushrooms, and he's been doing it since 1985.
The barn we're in is an old hog farrowing barn that used to belong to St. John's University in Abbey.
Wow.
They built it in 1937. When we bought it, it hadn't been used in years, but it has an artesian flowing well, which is important to have a good water source.
If you can see the frizz on my hair, it's because this barn is kept at a constant 62 degrees with 95% humidity.
Nothing is wet in here except the floor because it's all water vapor. It's very important not to have mushrooms get wet because the bacteria that grows in that water will break down the mushrooms.
And mushrooms are like people in that they breathe in oxygen and out carbon dioxide. That's why fresh air is constantly being pumped in through this long bag.
And it actually brings in fresh air to the tune of 1 full air exchange every 5 minutes.
Wow. Each of these plastic bags will produce between 5 and 6.5 pounds of oyster mushrooms over a period of 4 weeks.
When the bags are first put here on these shelves, they're actually already 2 weeks old. Inside this bag is steam pasteurized straw, which is agricultural waste. And to supplement the nutrient a little bit, there's also a certain percentage of cottonseed hulls. They start to produce bulges where these pre-punched holes are.
Because they're saying we're ready to grow.
They're ready to grow. And when it gets to be a certain density of growth in there, they start to grow. Within hours, the color turns from a white color and it begins to darken into this more bluish gray color within hours, and that's a sign that they're in an environment that they need. After 5 days, they begin to look like this.
Oh, look at these guys!
You can see by comparison here the size of them. Those are about halfway grown right now. The color of them changes a bit too. They turn from that grayish color to a more of a brownish tan as they mature. And these mushrooms are really ready to pick. This is the ideal stage right here, and it just give them a quick little twist and they pop right off.
Down the hall, Kevin is also growing shiitake mushrooms, not in bags, but on logs.
So these logs are about the size of a loaf of bread.
The logs are made of pressed and sterilized hardwood sawdust chips. The mushroom spawn is introduced, and within a few weeks, ready to eat shiitakes.
This is a much stronger tasting mushroom than the oyster mushroom. It's a very rich tasting. If you would compare mushrooms to types of meat, this would be more like the beef, and the oyster would be more like chicken or fish.
But most types of mushrooms can't be cultivated, so Kevin buys and sells all sorts of wild ones too, including the famous morel. Morels grow in such complicated and unpredictable conditions in nature that it's impossible to replicate on a farm. And it may surprise you to learn this mushroom farmer thinks that's a good thing.
I like the fact that morels can't be cultivated because once they're cultivated, the value will plummet. They won't be so special.
Yeah.
Part of what makes them special is that they're rare. It's an interesting crop. Even after 25 years, I still find it fascinating, and they're really beautiful. They're almost like coral or something.
How many days a week do you eat mushrooms?
Only about once every 2 weeks. The plumber is the one with the leaky faucet, right?
Yeah, I know.
As a fun mushroom guy.
Yeah, it was really cool. And you know, all of that is involved in making mushrooms and growing mushrooms is recyclable. I mean, those bags you saw, those then go to farmers or gardeners, and they use that mushroom stuff on the inside as compost. It's really cool. And the farm is not officially certified organic, but they use organic farming practices, so no pesticides. And it's really cool to see how it's done. You can see forest mushrooms. They're available at grocery stores pretty much all over the metro. I mean, they have little green containers. You can't miss them.
All right, more TCL to come.